Welcome to today's webinar, Increasing Productivity with OneNote, brought to you by Simple K-12. My name is Lori. I am here with Robyn Hrivnatz, and we are so excited to have all of you here with us today. This webinar has been brought to you free today thanks to our sponsor, Microsoft, Education Empowered. When it comes to technology and education, your school needs more than a device or a service. Your school deserves a complete solution, and your end-to-end solution begins with Microsoft. Now, a little bit about our presenter. Then we'll go ahead and pass the screen over to Robyn. Robyn Hrivnatz is a Senior Teacher Engagement Manager for U.S. Education, managing the MIE expert and MIE trainer communities, as well as serving as curriculum lead for professional learning. She has over 16 years of experience in education, and she's taught both junior high and elementary school, as well as serving in instructional technology roles in Katy ISD and Lamar CISD in the great state of Texas. Robyn, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, guys. Look forward to learning together today.
I will go ahead and pass the screen to you.
All right. If you can give me a thumbs up, let me know you can see.
Looks great. We're good to go.
Excellent. So we'll get started. So welcome, guys. Hopefully you're all here and really eager and excited to learn a little bit about how you can increase your own productivity skills or work with your students using OneNote. So I will share that as a educator myself, OneNote is probably hands down my favorite technology tool to use in the classroom, but it's also a tool that I use both personally and professionally, just to keep myself more productive, keep myself organized, and it's just a solution that allows me to be mobile. So whether I'm sitting on my computer working and trying to organize things and manage projects, or just literally try to keep my own personal and family life in order, OneNote is like my go-to tool for that, because I can use it on my computer, I can use it on my phone. So I guess let's kind of just start with what is OneNote? How do you get access to it? Is it free? Does it cost something? So I'll kind of start with some of those questions. Number one, OneNote is a completely free tool that you can use. There is an app for OneNote on iOS, on Android. You can use it in the cloud on a web browser for free, or you can also use the full rich client in Office. So whether that is Office 365 and you're using the online version for free, or you are using the full OneNote 2016 or previous version of Office, it is available across the entire plethora of suites, and they all work and sync up together. So through your Microsoft account, when you create a OneNote notebook, your notebooks are always just traveling and going with you. So let's kind of talk about the layout of OneNote first. So I am right now, if you can see my screen, I'm using OneNote on my computer in the Office 2016 client. I will also take you up to the cloud and show you what it looks like up there as well, so that you can kind of see the two different differences. Sadly, I can't show you what my phone looks like because you can't see me, but you can definitely download the OneNote app on your mobile device, whether that's your phone or an iPad or a tablet of some sort. You can do that as well. And OneNote works all across those devices. You just might get a slightly different view or have slightly different access to tools depending on if you're on your phone versus if you're on your computer or you're in the cloud online. So with that being said, let's kind of take a look about like the structure and how this works. So on my screen right here, this is what OneNote looks like on my computer. And on the left-hand side, you see that I have all of these books here. Think of these as individual binders. So if you think about a traditional 3-ring binder, each of these would be a 3-ring binder. And the reason why I have so many is because, like I said, I'm kind of addicted to OneNote, and I organize everything inside of OneNote across my whole life. You can see here I've got this Simple K-12 notebook that I'm using just for today. It's kind of a blank notebook so we can kind of learn together. But then the projects that I manage at work, everything from personal and family, show up here as well. So you can see that across many different ways this tool is very useful and obviously allows me to maintain productivity. So inside of this notebook, so today, this name of the notebook I just created for training purposes is just called Simple K-12. You'll see that up here I have it says New Section 1. So think about a traditional 3-ring binder, and if you were to organize maybe like a Trapper Keeper, if you're old school like me, I used to love my Trapper Keeper. Inside my Trapper Keeper, I essentially had dividers. That's what these things are up here. So this where it says New Section, that's just like a divider. And I can right click on it, I can rename it. So I might say learning. Let's just say I can title it whatever I want. And then this space right here where I have written on here, welcome to increasing productivity with OneNote, this is my paper. So think of it as my lined paper that you might have a loose leaf inside your Trapper Keeper. And over here you'll see that that sheet shows up here and it says welcome because it's taking the first word on the page and making that my title. Or I can put a title here. So I could say training, and it'll title it here. Now, if I want a new page, I want a new blank page, I just click Add Page, and I have a new blank page. So I might say Notes, and now I have a new page. Same thing works for your sections at the top. If I want a new section, I would just click on it and just type something else, and I have a new section. So I have my sections at the top, and then my pages are inside my OneNote. Now, you might ask, well, how many sections can I have, or how many pages you have? The answer is it's unlimited. So there is not a restriction on the number of sections you can have or pages in your notebook. You can have as many as you want. And what's awesome about these pages is that this is a blank canvas, and you can do whatever you'd like to on this canvas. So let me share a few things with you. Obviously, I could come in here and I could type something on the page, right, in my notebook, and I can click over here and I could type something else. And then, so this is just a canvas. I can move things around. I obviously, because I'm in the application, if I wanted to highlight this, or if I wanted to make it bigger or change the color, right, I could do all of those things as well inside my page. But this is a great place. If you think of it as a blank canvas, you can put anything on this page. So this is really good for if you're a person who likes just to brainstorm and write different things out on a page, you can do that. And one of the other beautiful things about this is I do have the ability to ink as well. So because I'm on a touchscreen inking device here that I'm using, I can write here as well. This is really good, especially, if you're a math teacher, and you're doing math. Obviously, we tend to write when we want to solve math problems. So having the ability to ink as well as type is great. But that's not it. I can also add media to a OneNote page. So let's pretend that I am online. Maybe I go to Wikipedia and I am doing some research on frogs. And I'm actually on the site, and maybe I'm trying to, collate some different data to then later on put a report together. I can pull data from sites as well. So I can come here and I can maybe copy this data and then come to my page. I'm going to paste it in, and notice what happens when I do that. Everything on the web is still here. The hyperlinks are still hyperlinks, and one of the other things it does is it also gives me the site from which I got that information. So it comes here on that page as well. So I can put information from the web as well. Now what you think about like photos. So it looks like we have some photos here of frogs. I could also have images on my page. So I can do this a couple of different ways in OneNote. I'm going to use a shortcut called Windows Shift S, and I'm going to just screen clip, let's say, that little photo of the frog. It's going to ask me where in my OneNote I want to send it. I'm just going to say send it to my current page, send to selected location, and then that image is actually going to go on the page that I had selected. So you can see that image right here. Again, it gives me when the link of where that image came from, as well as the date and timestamp. Great for, especially if you're using this with students, for them to actually document where they're getting their information and citing their sources. So you can obviously get images there as well. So anything you can think about putting on this page, you can. And notice that I can just keep going and going on my page. There's not a limit to how long my page is or how wide it is. I can make it whatever I would like to. Now, for me, when I first started using OneNote as a teacher, I basically started using it for productivity purposes initially before I started using it for students. And we'll get into how you can use it for students as well. But I started using it for productivity because as a teacher, I was having to document things that my students were doing in class. I was trying to document parent conversations that I was having, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did to start and get myself comfortable was I created a notebook for student documentation. So I would create a notebook. I might name it First Period Science. And then I'd have sections for different things that I was keeping track of. So for instance, I might have a section on student behavior. And then what I would actually do, oops, and it looks like I was typing too quickly and forgot an N. Let's put that there. What I would do is I'd create a page for my students. So let's say I have a student named Kelly A, another student named Billy B, and I would have my students have pages here. And as I needed to document something, like maybe they did something really awesome and they helped out another student in class, and I wanted to come document that, I could do that. I could quickly grab, an insert date and timestamp and say, that Kelly was caught, helping out a classmate. And I can document that really quickly and I can move on. And the beautiful thing is that because this is mobile, I can be walking around my classroom and doing this on my phone. And some of the other things that you can do with the mobile devices is that there's built-in cameras into OneNote as well. So I might take a picture of Kelly helping out that classmate and have it go right here on her page. And so I keep track of all the behavior. And one of the beautiful things about this is it's easily shareable. So if I am teaching with another co-teacher and I want to collectively share all of this data and information together, I can just simply share my OneNote with that other teacher and we can collectively actually collaborate in this OneNote together so that we both have access to the information and we can both add to it, etc. So that's one example of how you can use it. Now, I showed you how you could add pictures and text and you can handwrite on it, you can grab stuff from the web, but you can also add files here. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go quickly to my messy desktop here. And let's say that this is a file that I needed to add about Kelly. Maybe it was a note from her parent. I can actually just take that file and I can attach the file, and now that file is also part of that record. So this is an actual file. It's an Excel file, obviously you can see here, but it's a live working file. So I could open up that file. You can see that Excel would open, and that file is a live working file. So it actually made a copy of that file and put it on my page. So on these pages, like I said, if you think of these as blank canvases, you can have text, you can have images, you can have photos, you can have other files. A question often becomes is, well, does it have to be a Microsoft file? You just showed me, obviously, it was an Excel file. The answer is no. It can be any kind of file type. So I could drag an audio file here, a video file. I can actually insert videos from YouTube directly on my page here so that if I wanted to view a YouTube video from inside my OneNote page, I don't necessarily have to leave and go to the web and view that video. I can actually click on it right here inside my page and view that. So think of this as an open canvas that supports all file types, whether it could, any software. So I could put a MP4 there, I could put a PDF there, it doesn't really matter. So that is basically, if you would, like the 101 of like how to create a section, how to create a page. Notice the different rich media types that you can put on there. And if you were using the full version, you'll see that just like in other Office applications, you have all sorts of tools and different features that are a part of OneNote. So if I'm a math teacher and I'm going to be using equations or symbols frequently, I have those there. I also have things like, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can move this little menu out of my way. I am going to pin my menu at the top, my tools, show you some other things that I did as a teacher that I like to do a lot as well. I use OneNote a lot initially for productivity for myself as a teacher, but then I started using it with my students so that I was able to get to work with them. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. What I would suggest is we have something called our class notebooks, which is basically a specialized, it's OneNote, and anybody can get it for free. Again, it's available. But it's a specialized way that OneNote is set up, and so that you're able to use this with your class. So for example, I'm just clicking on here the sample class notebook, and I'm going to kind of show you how this one is a little different. So the sample notebook, obviously there's a welcome to OneNote. There's some OneNote basics to show you how to get started. There's some frequently asked questions that you can use. But then it sets up the notebook in a way that you can see I have some pretend students here, students 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How this notebook is unique is essentially I have this space right here called my collaboration space. This is a notebook that basically is uniquely permissioned so that all of my students in my class also have access to the same notebook. So I have the notebook as the teacher, all my students also have the notebook, and as the teacher and the students, we all have what's called this collaboration space that allows all of us access, so all of my students in my class would be able to access this part of the notebook. So I could put students in groups and we could work on projects together. You can see here some examples of where students are working on a project on jazz. I could give them directions here. They can drop their files in here. They can do their research. Examples of music. These are music files where they can listen to the jazz, etc. But this is a place where my students can work together. Or they might have class discussions and they can use this as basically kind of like a class discussion chat zone, if you would. But the way the notebook is permissioned is all my students in this class notebook would have access to that collaboration space. They would also all have access to what we call the content library. And the content library is, think of it this way. It is kind of like a file cabinet for you as a teacher and for your students. So I can put in resources for my students here. And this particular part of the notebook gives me as the teacher full access to it, so I can add and edit and change and give them new problems of the week, etc. And the students could actually copy the work from here into their own notebook, but they can't edit my original copy. So think of this like as your go-to pile of resources for your students, where you don't want them necessarily altering the actual activity, or your copy of the activity, but you maybe want them to have their own. You could have this content library for that. This also may be where if you provide some resources for your class, some notes, or a presentation that you shared and you want to give that access to your students, you could just drop all that in this area for your students so they can access it but not change it. So hopefully that makes sense for the content library. And then we have what's called the student notebooks. So as the teacher, I would see all of my students. So you can see here in my student notebook, so like this is student 1, let's pretend this is Kelly. This would be her independent notebook that she has access to and I have access to, but none of the other students would have access to. So it's private between the teacher and the student. So Kelly can come in and she can do her work inside her notebook. I can assign work to her and push it directly out to all of my students' notebooks at once, so each of them have an individual copy of the work. Or if I want to put something into the content library, they could also just make a copy of it and put it in their own notebook as well. So we often see that, a lot of times teachers will push work out to the students, like using our class notebook add-in. They'll push the assignment out to all the students, and then a student accidentally deletes their work. They could always go back to the content library and get themselves a new copy. Kind of like in the days of kids losing their work in class, you might have had extra copies of an assignment in the back where they could just go grab another copy. That would be your content library. So you can see that I have Kelly's notebook here, and she's able to work and do her different assignments in class, etc. She can take notes in class, and you can see here some different examples of how Kelly, again, uses different tools inside of OneNote to be able to work in the way that best suits her. Now she can make changes here, and like I said, I can also make changes here. So I could come into Kelly's notebook and I could give her some feedback. So I could, maybe grab my pen, or maybe I just type some notes on the side, but I can say, great job, Kelly, right? So I can provide feedback right away. Now Kelly would instantly see that change on her page, and I would be able to communicate to her directly, but no one else would be able to see that information. One of the awesome things about OneNote is, as a teacher, I don't necessarily just want to be able to write notes for students, but maybe I need to give them some actual verbal feedback. I can do that in OneNote too. So I can click on Insert. I could say I want to insert an audio recording and record some audio. And now I could just basically say, hey, Kelly, looks like you're working really hard on here, but I think you're missing the concept of the convection boundary layer. This is where I see you need a little bit more improvement. Remember how we talked about this in class, et cetera, et cetera. I stopped the recording, and now not only did I maybe give her some written feedback, but there's an audio file here on her page as well, and that is my feedback that I gave her. So she can click on that and now listen to me give her feedback on the work that she is doing as well. So this is a direct connection between you and your students where you can give them instant feedback. And since I like to call our kids today microwave kids because they want everything instantly, this actually provides that for them so that they are actually able to get that instant feedback right here. So again, as a teacher, remember I would see each of my students and all their work at all times. But the student, when they open this notebook, basically if I was student 1, I would not see student 2, 3, 4, and 5. That would be invisible to me. I would only see the notebook with the collaboration space, the content library, and then whatever else my teacher had provided inside of the class notebook. So that is a little bit about class notebooks, how they're used, etc. Now, I should share with you that we are obviously looking at OneNote 2016 right now, and this is what the client looks like. But I did share with you that you can also view notebooks in the cloud, and so that if you didn't have the full version of OneNote, no worries, you can use this in the cloud as well. So here's an example of that same sample class notebook inside in the cloud and the web version. So you can see that it looks a little different in the web. Instead of my sections up at the top here and my pages on the right hand side here, they're just over here on this side. So here's my welcome section, here's my collaboration section, and then my pages kind of are inside of it. So collaboration, here's that group project. I can click on the group project and it's going to load in that information here. And I apologize if there it all comes. My internet's being a little pokey. But these are the different, so this is the sections and this is the pages. So it's the exact same content. Everything that I had in the full version open on my computer a moment ago is now in the cloud. One thing that I really love about OneNote is that if I am, let's say I get on the school bus, I'm a student, and I open up my device and I start working on my assignment inside of OneNote, I don't necessarily have to have the internet. I can just be working and typing along inside of it. And the moment I get back to a location that there's Wi-Fi, my notebook starts syncing up. So it'll automatically reattach itself to the internet, and anything that I've done in it now then automatically syncs back to the cloud, so that is accessible everywhere. And so the moment any changes that show up or have been made since the last time I looked at it, those will appear. This is one of the reasons why I really loved using OneNote in the classroom, is because it didn't require my students to be connected to the internet to actually do their work. I had a lot of students who maybe didn't have access to it at home, or they were often, maybe they were student athletes, they were riding the bus to games late at night. They were still able to do their work inside OneNote without having an internet connection, but having a lot of these feature-rich tools and being able to work together and collaborate as a class. And then the moment they get back to an internet connection, everything syncs up, and then any work that anyone has done will automatically show up in that notebook. So they're able to continue getting those changes. So this is what OneNote looks like in the cloud. Again, for you guys that may have some questions on, and is it different? There are some feature differences, so I can come and see what features are available to me. I still have a ribbon up here. And then even in the app on your phone, or whether you have an iPhone or an Android phone, there's a OneNote app as well, and there are some different features there. So there are actually some really cool things that you can do on the OneNote phone app that you can't even do on the full version client. So there's even some fun glittery ink that you have access to, and some other neat little things that you can do on your phone that you don't necessarily do here. So hopefully you guys today have heard and maybe gained some ideas of how you can use OneNote to be a little bit maybe more productive as a teacher, organize yourself, or how you can even begin to transition and use this with students so that you have a collaborative space for your students to work together, and multiple different ways that you can make learning accessible for your students and provide really rich feedback to your students while making yourself essentially have a paperless classroom. But I think it's even more than about being paperless. It's just about having access to a lot of information on the go and being able to do some really amazing things with it. Now, obviously, this is a super short webinar, and I can't cover all the features of OneNote in this one webinar, but there's so much more that you can learn about OneNote. I will say that I'm going to just, let's grab myself some ink here. I would say the best way to learn more about using OneNote, learn some of the other really cool features that exist in OneNote, because I can't tell you everything in this short amount of time, is to go to this website here. So if you go to aka.ms/OneNote one stop. Oops, and I'm getting short on my paper here. Let me go back to my tool. There we go, OP. There we go. So aka.ms/OneNote one stop. This will take you to a one-stop shop that has a lot of resources, videos, training on how to use OneNote, everything from getting set up from very basics to very advanced uses of advanced structures of OneNote, or using this in other different ways, and many other really great features that are here that I haven't even been able to address in the short amount of time. So definitely check out aka.ms/OneNote one stop. That'll take you to a one-stop shop that has everything about OneNote, using OneNote in the classroom, and it's all living on our Microsoft Educator community. And one of the cool things about learning about things in our educator community is when you create a profile there, you can actually earn points and badges and different things inside of our community as well. So once you start earning points and badges, it kind of seems to be a little bit addictive, and you want to keep earning more and growing your profile. And this is also how you could earn your status of becoming a certified MIE as well. So if you take a couple of courses in the community, you could definitely learn about OneNote, and at the same point in time, you could work on a certification. So hopefully this is some valuable information for you guys. I do want to stop now so that I have a few moments to answer any questions that you may all have.
Great, Robyn. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I'll give you just a couple of moments to catch your breath, and then we'll take some Q&A from our attendees. So if you do have a question for Robyn, please feel free to submit it now through that questions box of GoToWebinar. Just want to take a moment to pop back into the teacher learning community and share with you where you can find some additional resources if you'd like to learn more inside of our course catalog. If you scroll down about halfway down the page, you will see our category here exclusively for Microsoft. We have 68 unique webinars specific to using Microsoft and Microsoft tools in your classroom and with your students. So you can check out those on-demand webinar recordings inside of the teacher learning community here at simpleK12.com. Okay, Robyn, let me get your contact information up here on my screen. Just one moment here. This webinar has been brought to you free today thanks to our sponsor, Microsoft, Education Empowered. When it comes to technology and education, your school needs more than a device or a service. Your school deserves a complete solution, and your end-to-end solution begins with Microsoft. All right, Robyn, a few questions coming in here from Maureen. She said, are you using the full online version on your screen?
So I started off the presentation using the OneNote 2016 client, and then at the end of the presentation I took you up to the cloud, and that was the full online version. So you should have gotten to see both versions and how they they look a little, I mean, mostly similar. A lot of the functionality is the same. You're just going to get a different view based on the web version versus the full version.
Okay, great. I'm Robyn. Next question here came in from Aaron. I wish our school would use OneNote more. How compatible is OneNote with Chromebooks?
So great question, Aaron. You absolutely can use OneNote on a Chromebook. You just would be using the Office 365 for Education version of OneNote for free. So when I took you up to the cloud a while ago and showed you the OneNote online version, that's what you could use on a Chromebook or any other tablet per se, in which you were just accessing Office online. So our entire Office suite, whether it be OneNote or Excel or Word or PowerPoint, our entire Office suite is available to use online for free. And so if you go to, let me give you another quick web address if you want to figure out how to do this yourself really quickly. If you go to office.com/teacher, this will take you to a way to get Office 365 for Education for free as an education institution, as a school. And so you can go in there and you can get set up, and then you can use OneNote, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Sway, everything online for free, and you just use the online version.
Okay, great. Next question came in from Brian. Is there a limit to the amount of students?
Brian, that's a great question. I'm sure at some point there would be a limit, but I'm not sure what that max number is. I've never run into a situation where I've hit a max. So I would say if you want to shoot me an email or shoot me a message on Twitter, I'll dig into that information and see if there is a max. I'm not aware of a max number per se.
Okay, great. Question from William. At any point, is there a cost for OneNote, such as cloud space?
So inside of Office 365 for Education, you essentially get a terabyte of space into your OneDrive, and that's ultimately where your OneNotes are getting stored. They're getting stored on your online cloud storage, which for Microsoft is called OneDrive. So you have as much space as your OneDrive allows for, so there's never any charge as long as you have space still left in your OneDrive to store everything. And I will tell you that OneNote doesn't necessarily work from a storage space scenario like you would have other applications. So for example, I have lots of OneNotes that have, pretty large files dropped and embedded in them, whether they, be video files or PowerPoint files, etc. So let's say I had maybe a PowerPoint that's 5 megs, and I dropped that into OneNote. It doesn't necessarily count towards 5 meg of storage against my overall space. I don't know how it works, but there's some way that some of your files inside of OneNote do some sort of auto compression so that you're not one for one eating up space. But like I said, I've been using OneNote probably since about 2003, a really long time. And over the different versions of OneNote and move into the cloud, obviously over the last decade, things have changed, but I don't personally pay for any space. Everything is been provided within my Office 365 account. It gives me enough and ample space for everything I need.
Okay, wonderful. Question from Lori. She said, is there a way to lock up a page in a class notebook after a teacher has written feedback on the page so the feedback is not deleted or modified by the student?
That's a great question, Lori. So I think that she said, is it Lori that asked that question?
Yes.
So there's no way, yeah, okay. There's no way to lock the page. So if you left feedback for the student and they go in there and delete it, there's no way to say, here's the feedback, mark as final lock. What you could do is, if they did delete your feedback, what OneNote does is, you can see in my, I guess we're not looking at my screen anymore, there is a history for OneNote, and so you can go back and restore to a previous version. So you could restore that and get that previous version back and see that feedback again. So even though things may seem to get quote-unquote deleted, they're actually not really fully deleted unless someone actually emptied out the entire recycle bin and permanently deleted it. So not exactly what you're looking for as far as locking, but that's a great suggestion. And I did want to throw out there too that if you guys do have suggestions, our OneNote team is constantly listening to teachers and trying to continue to make changes to the product based on teacher feedback. So there is a OneNote EDU voice that you're able to give them feedback or a suggestion. And many of the things you see in OneNote today didn't even exist a year ago, but based on teachers providing a great suggestion like that one, for instance, is what they are constantly making changes in and developing new features. So I would love you to share that feedback to the OneNote EDU voice.
Okay, great. I'm Robyn. I think we have time for a couple more questions here. A question from Laura. She said, is this useful to use during instruction in the classroom, such as by projecting something from OneNote on the screen to the front of the room for all students to see and interact with?
Absolutely. There are a lot of teachers who use OneNote sort of like as their interactive whiteboard software, where they just will throw up a blank page and put that on. Maybe they have a smart board or Promethean board, or maybe it's just a projector, and you could actually pass the device around and have students work together, or or you could have a shared notebook projected onto the screen. So let's say I have my class notebook projected onto the screen. I might be using that as my main device as a teacher and pointing to the students like, okay, this is where we are today. I'm going to push out this assignment for you real quick, and I push that out using the class notebook add-in, and all the students would get that into their personal notebooks. And maybe they start working on the assignment, and as the teacher, I might kind of browse and click into each, a few students' notebooks to see their progress or what they're working on. And if there's a student that maybe is doing a really great job, I could just click on their notebook, project that out onto the screen, and quickly all the other students could see what the student was able to accomplish and do, or, a really good explanation of that particular problem they're trying to solve, maybe. And everybody would be able to quickly get access to see this particular thing. So it absolutely can be used either as a kind of like an interactive whiteboard solution sort of itself, or you could just use it as a way to kind of check in and quickly share other great work with other students in the classroom as well.
Okay, great. Robyn, thank you again for a wonderful presentation. It's been a pleasure being here with you today, as always. I look forward to being here with you again for your future sessions.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that you guys stay in touch. Feel free to tweet me some questions. I'll definitely jump into that back channel as well and see if there's questions there that I can help answer after this call. So thank you, guys.
Okay, great, Robyn. Thanks again.